Not bad. Came out early Saturday, and I thought they got after it pretty well. Since we put pads on, it's been physical. Defense is still learning, but they've been aggressive, so it's been fun to watch their development so far.
What are your impressions of Coach Gibbs? Now you've had a couple of practices under your belt on the field out there.
He's good. He's very patient. I think he has a plan, and he knows how he wants to install it, and he seems to be a great teacher. Those guys are picking it up quick, and enthusiasm's there. And like I said, the biggest thing I've noticed is physicality has picked up, and that's something he's coaching towards. And so it's good to see that.
What about in the meeting rooms? Here in the facility.
From what I've seen players coach, these guys know who he's been around, who he's coached, so there's that credibility, especially in the National Football League. So he definitely does a good job owning the room, and these players respect him.
What did your quarterbacks do the last couple of practices?
They've done well. Pat was out of town this past Saturday, so Nick got a bunch of reps, and it was good to get him repping, and Davis has looked good. It hasn't been hit because it's a non-contact drill when we go team with those quarterbacks, but he's been sharp.
How close might Nick be to being a scholarship guy?
We'll see. He's still learning the system. I think the talent level is there, but he's got to perform in our system and earn a roster spot.
I know you can't talk about anybody in particular, but how do you think Junior Day went on Saturday in general?
It was the biggest one we've had since I've been here. I think with our location, the unofficial visits aren't the easiest thing, but our guys did a great job of setting those up, and I felt like there's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of big-time prospects, and so it went well.
How was the turnout compared to maybe how it would have been the week before, had weather not interfered?
I think comparable. I think we try to limit it. We don't want a cattle call, if you will, of a bunch of guys. We like to show the players that are here a lot of attention, and I think we got that accomplished.
Will you hold another event like that sometime this spring to go along with practice?
We'll try. We'll reach out to players and see who can make it, who can't, and that's our biggest deal is getting kids out here at the same time. If we can't, we'll just have a lot of individual visits.
What players have impressed you so far?
Outside of the regulars, DeMarcus Felton's looked good running the ball. A guy who redshirted last year. He will add some depth. I think Q White is a guy that we've moved around a little bit, asked him to do some things that maybe he didn't do in the past, and he's stepped up and done that. Defensively, Pete Robertson keeps showing up. He's a guy who we knew would be there, and Brandon Jackson, I think, in this scheme are really it's gonna fit them. So it's exciting to see.
You said you moved Q around. Where all are you moving him around?
Just fullback. Ask him to do some things blocking that he hasn't in the past, and he's gained some extra weight for us. And he's a guy who's always been good with the ball in his hand, and he's really come a long way in protections and blocking in the run game. So we've been proud of that.
I know it's early, but has anyone started to emerge behind Pete in terms of?
Gary Moore's a guy who keeps showing up and keeps flashing on tape. He's still a little lighter than we'd like, but he's very athletic. Guy who played receiver in high school as well as defensive end and has all the ability in the world. Still has 3 more years, and so he's a guy that we see stepping in and be able to spell Pete when he needs it.
Is there anyone with an increased role that's starting to take an increased leadership role as well?
I would say just all the guys you'd expect. A lot of these guys have played 3 years now, started 3 years, and so they weren't happy with how it ended last year, and they stepped up and really started the spring off the right way.
Do you reference, like this time last year we talked about the Holiday Bowl and you focused on 2014 and next rep and all those things. Do you reference maybe the disappointing season more now than you did the Holiday Bowl this time last year?
No, we don't. We kind of had a team meeting and buried it, and so it's all forward, and we're trying to get better in the now and do what we can do. We talked about what we needed to get better at, and we're not looking back.
That being said, have you noticed a difference in intensity in practice this spring or not?
I have, and I think a lot of it is attributed to being motivated from last year's disappointment and underachieving like we did, and also a lot of new guys that either redshirted or haven't had a chance to show what they can do in a new scheme. Anytime you have a new coach, guys get that new motivation. It's a fresh start, and so I think that's contributed to it as well.
At linebacker, you have an older guy like Micah that obviously he's kind of the oldest guy in that group, but what have you kind of seen about all the younger guys in that group, because there's so many young guys in it right now?
Yeah, Coach Favreau's come in and really balanced that room out. I feel like he's simplified things, and you can see they're playing faster than they have in the past since I've been here. And so a lot of guys fighting for spots, and that's always good. Competition makes everybody better, and so that's really what I've seen. Mike has done a tremendous job picking up the system. He's a smart kid, and I'm excited to watch him this fall.
What about the receivers so far? I know it's just been a couple of practices, but that was a position of disappointment. So far, what have you seen from them?
Yeah, I think you saw a couple of those guys emerge late. You know, Devin did some good things, and Jakeem had a really good last game. Ian came on, and the one that's really stood out so far this spring is Reggie Davis, and he's a guy that we need to step up. This is going to be his 4th year here. He'll be a redshirt junior, and it's time for him to be what he can be. So he's a guy who's flashed. Coach Shev's done a good job of really motivating him, and so we just got to keep him coming.
Have you felt limited in practice offensively, just with Davis still coming back from that injury and Pat's schedule just?
Not too much. You know, Davis, he knows the offense as well as I do, so he's executed at a high level. And like I mentioned earlier, we don't let him hit the quarterbacks during the spring, so it hadn't limited us at all.
Have numbers on the O-line limited you guys, or kind of made things difficult?
Yeah, it's limited our effectiveness, I would say, in that second group. There's been some rough moments, but it's good for the quarterbacks to see those adverse situations and learn when to throw it away and not take sacks. And so if you can make that look good, then you're doing something.
What was your process like in the offseason with LaRaven Clark coming back? There was a story that Coach Hayes had talked about, I think, last availability, where he wasn't really sure whether or not LaRaven was going to come back, and I think he walked in and was like, where'd you expect me to be, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we did the same research we did when Jace was looking at it, and you see what's best for the player, and you go from there. And by all accounts, and the feedback we got from that league was that another year would really serve him well and help his draft status. And so we all talked about it, and he decided to come back.